Alright, shalom, Sister Kate here, and today, this is the second part of my day, I am going to be canning squash. I have lemon squash, zucchini squash, and summer squash. All of this is grown, homegrown, whether I grew it or someone gave it to me, but I think I grew most of these. People have said they'd like to see a video of me canning stuff. The problem is I can't can stuff and hold the camera at the same time. So I'm just going to have to explain what I can explain and then fill in. You know, I'll splice what I can and I'll do what I can, but I can't get a complete video, at least not without someone else being here. So what I've got is preps, and I'll show them to you really quickly. I have the squash cutting board. This is a canning funnel. Phone charger. That has nothing to do with the, neither does the wine. This is going to end up being vinegar. Nothing to do with the canning. Alright, so I have 7-quart jars here. I will get out of my bin the canning handle, like lifter, jar lifter. And then I have lids and bands. You cannot reuse these lids for canning. Alright, if you've used the lid, if you've taken it off a canned jar, you can put it on there again. If you're keeping the stuff in the fridge, like you've opened your jam and you want to just keep it from going bad, you put the lid on there. You can use it that way, but you cannot re-can with these. So I have used lids for like when I'm using leftovers or whatever. I've already opened it, but I have brand new lids for when I'm canning brand new stuff. And I've got both sizes. This is a wide mouth jar. This is a narrow mouth jar. So I have wide mouth lids and I have narrow lids. And a good time to buy these things is now, because a lot of stores will start putting these things on reduced prices because they want to clear for fall items. Alright, so then over here I have my Mirro, M-I-R-R-O canner. This is the pot part. This is a stand that you put inside to put the jars on, so they're not, the bottom of the jar does not sit directly on the heat underneath. This is, the lid for this is right here. It has a O-ring in it. This is a new one for this canner. I've used my old one for like 30 years. The canning lid goes on once this is hot and the jars are in here. It goes on like this, and then you twist to make this tight. Then you let this steam out for 10 minutes, and then you put the pressure part on it, this little pressure bobber. And it's marked in 3 places, 5, 10, 15. That's the poundage. Most things are canned at 10 pounds pressure. So the number 10 is right here on this little dial. You put that down here, and that means 10 pounds pressure is being generated in here, and this will start to make that hissing noise. What you want to hear when this thing's going, and I will have a video of this, of at least I'll try to splice it on here, is about 4 times a minute. This should rock and allow pressure to escape 4 times a minute, so every 15 seconds. That means it's at the right pressure, and you just cook it for however long your recipe calls for your particular thing that you're canning. Sorry if I'm moving quickly, but I wanted to make sure I included this. I'm using a book called Stocking Up 2 or 3 for the numbers, how long I can this thing for, and how I pack it. Carla Emery's Encyclopedia of Country Living will tell you. The Ball Blue book will tell you. There's many books that will tell you what the pressure is and how long you cook what size jar. These are quart jars. The smaller jars, sorry if I'm swinging you around, I'm not trying to make anybody motion sick. These are pint jars. These are half the size of the quart jars. So you do need to decide what you're canning, if you think you're going to be able to fill them or not, and then you process them according to the size of your jar. And you do pressure can squash because it's not a very high acidity vegetable. things like tomatoes and pickles, you can water bath can, but this is a pressure canner, okay? Pressure canner. It creates a pressure so the vacuum in your jar is very strong and keeps it sealed so it doesn't get rotten later. All right, so that's the first part of the video, sort of an introduction. Then I'll do a couple other things after, like I've chopped the stuff and I've started to pack it into the jars. All right, shalom. Okay, second part of this video is the cans, lids, and jars. I have matched up for the number of narrow mouth jars with a lid, the flat thing, and a band, the round thing, equal to the number of jars I have, and I'm going to wash all of these in warm soapy water. So now what we have going is the jars are in hot water and will simply be boiled for 10 minutes to keep them hot and to sterilize them, and the lids are in there with them. And then in the meantime, I'm going to cut up these squash. Oh, and I'm going to process them in a thing called raw pack canning. Here's the directions for it in my book. It says wash, cut them into certain things. If the skin is tough, cut it off. Put them in the jars and then pour boiling water over them. And here's the table. Processing time for 10 pounds pressure. For a quart glass jar, it's 30 minutes processing time. So once I've gotten everything packed in the jars, they will sit in that canner for 30 minutes at the proper pressure. So I'm going to cut these, and then I'll show you loading them into the jars. The squash is finished, so next we're going to pack it. So what I had is that flowing water right there, drinking water, because here on the mountain we got two kinds of water. This is the clean well water. So I'm going to take the jars out of there. I'm going to put them here. I'm going to pack them, and then I'm going to start putting them into the pressure cooker. So I'm going to leave this here just so you can see what the packing looks like. If I can get it to work correctly. And these jars are going to be hot when they come out. That's why I have that jar grabber. So you don't have to have a canning funnel, but a canning funnel makes this part just go faster. And you want what's called about a 1/2 inch head space. So you want stuff packed in here until about the bottom of the jar where the screw-on things go to. All right, and then in there. Oh boy, it's gonna stink. I'm getting the hot band and lid out of the boiled water. I'm using some tongs for that because it's really hot water. It's boiled. It's 212 degrees. Excellent. Cut two that time. Perfect. Okay, so then you just run a knife around the edge a little bit, get those bubbles out. And now this jar is ready to go into the pressure canner. Jar number 2. I'm not going to go through all 7. This came out of the pot. I don't know what happened, but that's a reject, so I had to put in 2 more lids because this one is one on the bottom and then it's stuck to another one. So I'm going to boil the water again and then get at it. Alright, so I have 6 jars. That's all the squash. It didn't fill all 7. I can put the extra jar in there with a little bit of water to make a space in there correct so they don't bounce around. The water is hot in there. You use about 2 inches worth in the bottom. You don't fill this thing all the way to the top with water. You're just trying to build pressure. You don't have to have the water over top of the jars. So I'm going to shut the lid and then we're going to let it steam out the top with no thing on it for 10 minutes. Alright, and so here's the steam coming out. So we'll be timing that thing for 10 minutes. Alright, so it's been steaming 10 minutes. On mine, you can see I have another plug here. This was indented and it shouldn't have been, so I stopped and took the lid off, pushed it back out, so you see there's no steam coming out there. And then right here is the number 10. And so, no, where is it? There it is. Right there's the number 10. I'm going to put that over top of this steaming then. Now, it's going to start bubbling over, and as soon as it does, then I will let you hear it. And so that sound you hear is that thing rocking. But it's getting too hot, and we don't want it doing that the whole time. So now what I'll do is start adjusting the temperature so that I hear that noise, that noise, only 4 times in a minute. And then from now on, the countdown starts. So it will be 30 minutes from now. It's 12:55 now, so at 1:25 I will stop the processor.